What's up, YouTube? This is the deck that I've been using off and on basically for the last month. I've used it in some of my dueling videos. It's Dragunity, as you can see, and it's a strong candidate for whenever my next regionals is. I'm not really sure where that is. Now, to talk about Dragunity in the past, the problem that I had with Dragunity in the past was, number one, the deck was really slow. It did have kind of one good element. It could drop protection, it could drop Stardust and level 8 synchros. It could do it consistently, and it could do it every single turn easily. The problem was it did it at a very slow pace, and if you lost Dragon or Veen, sometimes it could feel like you completely lost your win condition, like you don't really have any other power plays. The deck has been revitalized almost by one card, and that seldomly happens, but in Galactic Overlord, the deck got Heretic King of Attempt. It's even more seldom that you get support that isn't even for your theme, and it can kind of revitalize the deck, breathe new life into it, and just revolutionize it. You know, I feel like a lot of Dragunity's biggest problems, you know, with speed and being able to really push the tempo to a fast gameplay or a game state have been answered with this card, because now this gives it the Heretic type pull Red Eyes Metal Darkness, you know, make multiple synchros and exceeds in one turn, and it gives it OTK power, and that's something that the deck never ever had outside of those really bad, you know, Trident Dragon OTKs, which are all stopped by Effect Veiler. Now, let's go ahead and just go over my deck right quick. 3 Ducks, 3 copies of Phalanx, let's call this guy Myten, I can't pronounce it, 2 copies of him, 3 copies of Effect Veiler, 2 copies of Red Eyes, 1 copy of Zephyros, 3 copies of Dragon Ravine, 2 terraforming. I've been watching too much Yellow Glasses. 2 copies of Card of Consonance, 3 copies of MST, 2 copies of Lance, Book of Moon, Dark Hole, Monster Reborn, Heavy Storm, 1 copy of Avarice, 1 Foolish Burial, 2 copies of Phoenix Chain. The Solemn Brigade is 2 copies of Solemn Warning and the Solemn Judgment, 3 copies of Evac, and Mirror Force. Now, the old gameplay that this deck used to use, the old way of basically get Phalanx into the graveyard as quick as possible, whether you have to fool this shit, use Dragon Ravine or Card of Consonance, and get to your Ducks, get Stardust on the board very quickly, and just kind of have Stardust protect Dragon Ravine so that you can pump out level 8 synchros quick and consistent. That still actually works in this format, and the reason it works is because you can protect your Stardust very easily, if not with your traps, then with a card right here, Effect Veiler. I mean, Effect Veiler is going to stop that rabbit from hitting the field, or it's going to stop that rabbit from using its effect. It's going to stop Tour Guide. It's going to stop the Insector plays. It's going to stop just about any threats your opponent is going to put in front of you in the first few turns. And everything else that isn't covered by that, you know, can be covered by cards like Phoenix Chain and Evac and Book of Moon. I mean, it's pretty difficult to deal with a Stardust plus a Phoenix Chain, especially when your opponent has Ravine on the field, and the very next turn they're going to be able to get either another Stardust or a Scrap Dragon or a Thought Ruler. And Thought Ruler, don't disregard this card. It's actually really good right now because, you know, you have Evac and you have everybody and their mom running Forbidden Lance and Phoenix Chain and D-Presence. So Thought Ruler is something not to be disregarded right now. What I like about the deck, and let's go ahead and talk about King of Tim and Red Eyes Metal Darkness. These 2 cards work in tandem. In fact, if there was no King of Tim, I don't think Red Eyes Metal Darkness would have any place in this deck. But because there is one, there can be the other. Red Eyes Metal Darkness, basically, it can allow you to OTK like turn 2, essentially. Like, okay, let's say you have a Stardust on the field and you're playing against Chaos Dragons, and all your opponent does is they like set a Sangan, or they go Tour Guide and you Veiler it and they pass and they don't have lures. I mean, you can, if you have Red Eyes, you basically have just won that turn, because it's very easy to put a whole bunch of damage on the board turn 2. And you can do that by going Summon Ducks, get Phalanx. Those 2 will synchro into Vaja. Vaja will get Phalanx back to the field. Here's where things get a little nutty. You'll remove the Phalanx to summon Red Eyes Metal Darkness. Red Eyes Metal Darkness will summon the first Vaja that you use to make your Stardust. You'll exceed with those 2 into King of Tim. King of Tim will pull another Red Eyes from your deck, and that Red Eyes will get Vaja back. Now on the field, you've got a Red Eyes, you've got a Stardust, you're going to overlay for Gaia Knight, which is a 2600 guy who has piercing damage, and you have a Vaja. I mean, you have game right there. And again, once Gustav Max comes out, then you can combine your 2 Red Eyes, you can exceed into Gustav Max, and I mean, that's just putting even more damage on the board, because Now you're adding, if I'm not mistaken, 2200 more damage on top of that. So again, the deck does have some really nutty plays that it can do like that. And again, even if you don't OTK, you still have Stardust to protect your board. You still probably have, you know, something like a Solemn Warning or Fiendish Chain or Effect Veiler, something like that good. And even for some reason, if you had that same exact play, but you know, you couldn't OTK for some reason because they put a big monster in front of you, instead of making the King of Tim, you can still do a very safe play like make a Photon Strike Bouncer using the 2 Vajas. And let's see, now your opponent can't use destruction effects. They can't use monster effects. They have a whole bunch of big ass dragons on the field, and even if they somehow can kill like your Stardust, you can just revive it next turn with Red Eyes Metal Darkness. And if they don't kill your Stardust, then you can, you know, if you use Photon Saber, you use one of your Vajas, you can just reborn that with Red Eyes. Or you can use what do you call it? You can use Dragon Ravine, put a dragon into the graveyard, revive it with Red Eyes. So the deck has options upon options upon options. Your win condition with this deck is very simple. Either play Protect the Stardust and then slowly get more level 8 synchros, or when you get to that Red Eyes, go for the OTK, go for Lockdown with Photon Strike Bouncer plus Stardust. I mean, just about no deck can play out of that. And those are your 2 basic win conditions. Now, I played this deck a lot against basically most of the decks in the format. I would say your good matchups are against Chaos Dragons and Insectors. Chaos Dragons, because once you get Stardust out, they struggle with that card. Like, they don't have a consistent way of getting Dragon Ravine off the field. They have Lila, they have Raikou, and they have Heavy Storm. The problem with that, all 3 of those can be negated by Stardust. So they're basically just looking for answers. Like, they have to use Chaos cards to remove your Stardust. And by that time, I mean, again, you can either OTK them by using one of your Red Eyes plays. You can Monster Reborn their Red Eyes, or you can just make more protection, like 2 Stardust or something like that. And against Insectors, Insectors is another deck. Again, it can be really slow. Like, yes, they have ways of blowing up multiple cards in a turn, but you have 3 Effect Veilers. You've got Fiendish Chain. You have Evacs. You can slow them down. You get a couple of Stardust on the board. It's game over for them. The problem with this deck is the Dino Rabbit matchup. If Dino Rabbit can get Lagia on the field before you get set up, you basically can't win with this deck. I mean, I hate to break it to people, but it gets very, very difficult because they can negate Dragon Ravine. If you don't bait them out with that, chances are you're moving at a very slow pace and you're looking for win conditions. So, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about this deck. I don't know how long I've been rambling on, but, you know, I'd like some input. And if you have some suggestions or you have some input, just go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Click an ad, and I guess I'm out.